a thing?
We'll start our second and final session for today, overcoming sustainability barriers in Arab countries, reform for accelerated progress. In this session, we will explore critical areas, including policy and regulatory reform, institutional capacity building, public-private partnerships, and sustainable finance and resource allocation. Leading this session as a chair and keynote speaker is Dr. Nahla Bou-Diab, a multi-award-winning CEO, a published author, head of a gender diversity group for the World Union of Arab Bankers, sister organization of the Union of Arab Banks. Dr. Nahla Khaddage Bou-Diab is a culture and leadership expert and CEO of AM Bank, the bank that applies her research. An advocate for organizational change, Nahla has developed a step-by-step methodology to assist leaders in transforming their company's culture. The floor is yours, Mrs. Nahla.
Thank you. Thank you, Dina. I don't know if this is working. Yes. So first of all, I'm really excited about being here because from here, physically, we can come up with policies to change the world. And it is this audience that can influence a big change in the world towards a better life for all humans, which is the whole purpose of our existence, to improve human life. I would like to thank both the UN and the UAB for including me. And I'm going to go very quickly. I got really excited as I heard the presentations by my colleagues, because I heard words that are full of hope and excitement. I heard the word culture multiple times, which is an engine of hope. I heard the word emotions, which is also at the center of how we can rectify and reduce sufferness on Earth. So we look at what we've done so far in terms of the SDGs. The whole concept of having SDGs is by itself an optimistic view of humanity, because we've managed to consolidate all our intentions towards achieving and implementing SDGs. And this is how we begin, by having the same intentions. We've done a lot so far. We have a lot of success stories that we publish, and this is amazing and great. But is this really enough? Is it enough? Well, obviously, in this conference, it's made very clear that that's not enough. There's a lot of clarity around the fact that there are challenges on how we can move forward and implement SDGs and apply them globally so that the whole world benefits. What are the main challenges? Everybody's been talking about the main challenges. We talk about poverty, we talk about conflict, we talked about political instability, we talk about lack of access to education, gender discrimination, lack of access to health. And everybody talks about these main topics as the main challenges of why the SDGs implementations are hindered. But I want to bring another perspective to this. I want to talk about humans, because it is us humans that actually implement anything, regardless of the concept, regardless how much money is invested. It is the human that moves forward towards implementation. And I think it's time we start allowing discovery on how humans operate and what they need in every conference, such as this one. So we humans can only exist in two states. There isn't a third one. We're either in survival mode or we're in creation mode. When we're in survival mode, we are afraid, we're fighting for our existence, we're worried about the future, we're worried about our safety, and that state is not a state where people can innovate and come up with ideas. Now, the survival state is a very important functionality. It's innate to us. But it was given to us so that we keep ourselves safe from real danger. We use survival mode if we're walking in the forest and we see a tiger attacking us. We need survival mode to exit danger and move into safety. The problem with survival mode, if we stay there too long, we deplete all our magical powers as humans. When I'm afraid, I can't innovate. When I'm afraid, I can't think of the collective. I'm only thinking of myself. When I'm afraid, I will be stuck surviving. When I'm constantly afraid and surviving, I will physically get sick. Our immune functions shut down. Every function we have as humans shuts down and focuses all the energy on getting out of danger. So then we move into creation mode, which is why we exist on Earth. Humans are special beings here to create, to innovate. And in creation mode, we get to dream, we get to innovate, we get to think collectively, and we tend to acknowledge our need for the collective. It's not individual anymore. And this is where we need to be. Now, let me take you back to the challenges for a moment. So when we say poverty, we're saying we're in survival mode. When we say conflict, we're saying we're in survival mode. When we say political instability, we are in survival mode. When we say we don't have access to education, we are in survival mode, worrying about our future. When we say there's gender discrimination, we are in survival mode. And when we say that we don't have a healthcare system that keeps us safe, we are in survival mode. So, my perspective is there's only one challenge, and that challenge is we are in constant survival state. And this is the challenge that we need to focus on, because it is the root cause of all other challenges. How have we been dealing with this historically? Poverty happens, we do things to reduce poverty. Wonderful. Danger happens, we do things to reduce danger. Lack of educational systems and accessibility happens, we go and we come up with efforts and projects to make educational systems available to everyone. So we, as a collective, are constantly stuck in managing the cycle of survival. And this is needed, and it's a must. But we can't stay there, because if we stay there, we're reliving the same cycle over and over again, and we're not going to break new grounds. We can't change the external environment. As much as we hope to stop wars, we have not succeeded in stopping wars. We can do little things to affect the external environment, but it's not enough. We need to keep doing them, but it's not enough. We can, however, change on preventing survival mode. And this carries a lot of depth, because I'm talking about the mental state of mind. I'm talking about the emotions. And this is where we have to go. So if we look at historically what we've done, we focused all efforts on making one base assumption, and that is that we humans are physical bodies. Everything we do targets our physical existence. However, we're not human bodies. Our physical bodies are driven by our thoughts and our emotions. Our physical bodies are driven by our beliefs. It is those components that drive everything on Earth. Yet, everything we do focuses on the physicality of things. And so we get stuck in fixing and refixing, and fixing and refixing. The only way to stop this is to shift the attention, at least part of it. So if we have millions and billions of dollars to spend, yes, keep spending on the physical aspect, but start thinking of allocating something to what triggers the physical aspect, to human beliefs, human thoughts, human emotions. This requires us to be brave. It requires us to break the social norms and to have the courage to start talking about subjects that today we don't discuss in our business environments. We need to be open enough to look at what's happening in quantum physics, Try to understand what are the scientific evidence or the literature coming out from that industry. Look at psychology. Understand human behavior and how it's triggered by psychology. Understand neuroscience. Understand the field of frequencies and physics. And unless we start doing this, we're always going to have a very small focus on what needs to be done. I want to intrigue you a bit more because everybody likes science, and I'm talking science. So it's interesting to look at the observer experiment through quantum physics. This is science. It's public. It's everywhere. It's interesting to understand the subconscious mind. It's interesting to understand that 95% of what humans do are driven by their subconscious mind and only 5% by their conscious mind. We need to look at this. We need to understand this. Look at neuroscience. Look at the studies around brain and heart coherence. Look at the studies of frequencies and frequency alignment. But how do we do this? Awareness. We must become aware. We must be able to talk about these subjects. We must remove them from the taboo category. We must change and break all social norms that basically say that if you talk about human emotions and thoughts, you are weak, and strength comes only from people who can talk about finance. We must relook at the social norms that all of us are subjected to. Then we must action, and then we must support each other because we're going into new grounds that we've never been before. So first, become aware of the science. I don't know if you're familiar, but the Nobel Prize for Physics in 2022 was given to the research around quantum entanglement. We read it, we respect it, but we must go further. Do we know what that means in terms of human behavior? It's huge, and it's exciting, and it's wonderful, and it's optimistic. We must learn how we take such concepts and we integrate them into our day-to-day life, our physical lifestyles. And we must create a collective capable of sharing and talking about these subjects and sharing stories without worrying about being rejected. We must create a collective that encourages the sharing of the thoughts and the emotions and what we've done with them and the success stories. So my presentation is an invitation. It's an invitation to continue to do what we're doing. Continue to invest in reacting to survival events. But initiate a new engine that drives awareness, action, and support to teach people how to activate their own innate power at the personal and the organizational level. We need to start investing there because this is what's going to get people to benefit from all the projects and all the financing happening around the world. When we do that, we shift the perspective of humanity and we change the perspective of developed countries. And then that automatically drills down to changing the perspective of what we refer to as underdeveloped countries. We start really getting excited about implementing human evolution theories instead of testing weapons, test the human evolution theories. And we get excited about teaching people how not to go into survival mode, but to see it, to become aware of it, and to learn how to exit it. So the first step is believing in this. And you know what? If I was talking about this 10 years ago, people would have labeled me as someone emotional and weak. But not anymore, because everything I'm talking about today is supported by the evidence that everybody cherishes and values. This is real, and it's time to start looking at this. So, I want to introduce something we've initiated. It's 2 parts. The first part is an activation at the personal level. The second part is an activation on the organizational level. Why is the organizational level so important? Because organizations are a group of humans that work together to achieve a common goal. We are humans, driven by beliefs, emotions, thoughts. And it is this combination that get us to produce projects, actions, initiatives to change the world. If the person is not transformed on the personal level, and that person goes into the organization and has a leadership position, that person will influence everyone and everything and the whole organization strategy through this. My colleague mentioned Peter Drucker's statement, which he actually said, strategy, culture eats strategy for breakfast anytime. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is culture. Culture is belief systems, humans, thoughts coming together to produce behavior. So the organizational setting is critical because this is where most of us spend most of our time, and because leadership in the organization must understand these topics because they influence their organization and their population. And all of this, believe it or not, is directly linked to some very critical goals related to the SDGs. So when we do this, we achieve the good health and well-being goal. Because when you dive into the science, you realize that when we start talking about this type of leadership, then you will see a direct link between that state and the state of health and well-being globally. Gender equality, because when the power of humans is activated, all the biases that come into play to create inequality fade away without any effort. Decent work and economic growth, of course, because when everybody is working towards the same goal, we will end up creating more jobs, but different ones that are needed, ones that are directly tied to improving human life on Earth. Reduce inequalities, of course, peace, peace, peace. When we learn what survival is and how to prevent it on the personal and the organizational level, you cannot have wars. At the end of the day, you may look at this and you can say, yeah, wishful thinking. No, it's not. Everything starts with the intention, and the intention is already done. The whole world agreed that we need to invest our efforts in SDGs. That's already done. Now, the next step is to become open and aware. Once we do this, we're almost there. Let's do this together, because it's the only way, and we can. And everyone's speeches today proves that we want to. Thank you very much.